Good morning, and welcome to the Safety Conference at Esbjerg. As we can see, it's a bit poignant that we're in the news as industry in the North Sea at this moment. And whilst it appears at this moment to be a process safety type of incident, as we would class it, I'm sure there are lots of decisions that are being made there by human beings that are key to the success of controlling the events. And for Maersk, if we can move to the first slide. Oh, sorry. Here we go. I entitled it Breaking the Curve. I'm going to touch a little bit about process safety, but also look about what you call stronger the occupational safety. And how are we going to progress continuous improvement in our business when we appear at one level to have sort of stalled in that area of particularly LTIs. We call it the Journey to Incident-Free Maersk Oil. It's a global initiative. It was championed and set off in 2010 and is owned, as the film said, at the very highest part of our organization, at the CEO. We have in our attention, our scope, two areas particular for safety: personal and process. I picked the same three events. And one of the things that I remember back a bit last year when we talked about personal safety was a little bit of a discussion about, well, why was Europe the worst place? Were we better at reporting statistics? There's one common theme about those three incidents. They all took place in a society that you would put as being a top level regarding safety, but they still happened. So, whilst we all look about the injury and the injury statistics in Denmark, and I'll touch on those just to set it up, I don't think we can hide behind the fact that, oh, maybe other places aren't reporting it. We see the issue. Major operators around the world, ourselves, Hess, Shell, Dong, we all see that there are events here that don't appear to happen somewhere else. So what is causing that, and how do we try and get over it? This is where we are in relation to general Danish industry. Two things. We appear, I say we appear, to have a better safety record than in other parts of Danish business, but we also appear to be at a plateau. So how can we take this forward? When you look at Denmark within Europe, and this slide was put up last year, then taking away Sweden with a one-off incident on almost a one-off well, then Denmark is pretty high in the European area of the OGP statistics. It's not a fact we can dispute. We actually look at where we are in that, and what is causing our accidents and incidents to take place. This was from 2011, about where did people receive LTIs, where did people receive medical treatments, restricted workday cases, etc., trying to look a little bit into what was happening. And I guess when you look at this slide and you put 2010s over it, there actually isn't a lot of difference. Most of our LTIs at that point were hands, fingers, and movement around the workplace. So how do we engage people to try and overcome that? We created the vision within the company to achieve lasting leading safety and environmental performance, and to place that in a positive safety culture. It wasn't about achieving great statistics for 1 year or for 2 years. It was actually about changing the way that we related to safety and the way that we do our business. You can see, being strongly represented by Denmark in our statistics, we were not meeting the industry average. So that is a challenge for us. But then we've got to take it on. We've got to be able to compete. And safety and good operating performance and conduct is stronger and stronger characteristic that you need to obtain and portray in working around the world. But particularly, again, building a culture. So We need safety leaders and pulling together a personal responsibility for your own safety and leading that together to give us our safety leadership. This has been a journey, and we see this journey going with ourselves out for 3-4 years to come. And then we will find a new set of challenges and reinvent it. So it started back in 2010 with basically our CEO deciding that our safety performance was no longer acceptable, getting us to face up at the senior leaders and the executive leadership team and saying, well, guys, you're not leading a company that is performing well when I look at the global business. We went on and we made a series of commitments and put in place a pilot which was in global representation. And I'll tell you how we took and we interpreted that pilot. It was a global program, but as it progresses, it takes on a stronger and stronger local feeling, a local ownership, and a local focus. So all the leaders then got an opportunity to commit, cascading down to the supervisors, and then finally to all the people who are working for us. That's a huge undertaking. We have in the main achieved it on parts of our business, but this year we still have, particularly on the drilling side, areas that we need to catch up on. And then to measure how good we have been in changing the views of people's perceptions of what we mean and what we're looking for in safety, to find where the safety culture is with the leadership survey. These were just some of the comments that we had at various points. Some of them relatively high in the company. I'm sure you can relate to all of them. Was this just another initiative? Okay, 6 months down the line, then we've got something else that comes in its place. I've done it for 25 years and I've never hurt myself. So, thank you, but I'm taking care of myself. The interesting one, it's obvious. I'm doing it right, but everybody else needs to change. Then, when you start to question, when you start to do part of the process of understanding more and more, there's a tendency or a capability that you end up being seen to be trying to blame people. So were we looking for somebody to blame? It was a trait of the industry, certainly back in the 1980s. Something went wrong, particularly on a drill rig, you change the driller out. Finally, there's the one accidents are bound to happen. Well, why is that when we've got parts of our business that can operate incident and accident-free for extended periods of time? So why is it bound to happen? And we were just unlucky. This was our interpretation of taking us on the incident-free journey. We started off, just as we had done at the highest level, with a process of committing. Then took that forward for the next 6 months in 2012 in motivation. Then transformation. How are we actually going to take that culture, make it work? And then the thing we all know we're going to have is persistence. The comment, I've been doing this for 25 years, also reflects 25 years of culture. And what we're trying to achieve here is something different. Because you saw the curve had flattened out. And what did we always do in our business? What did we resort to? We generally resorted to changing the procedures, fixing a bit of equipment, or making some minor modifications to an organization or a flow of information. We were generally not very good at trying to understand what I guess are the human factors or causes, or actually engage the people to know why particular events were happening. These were some of the key points, the commitment and what we established at a very high level in the executive leadership team and senior leadership, and what we spent 2 days exploring, understanding what did incident-free actually mean, and then committing to making it a success. How were we going to spread learnings through the organization, and what was the power of those learnings to engage people? The orientation sessions. How did we get people to start to understand the message we were trying to get across? How do we get them to engage that actually incidents-free wasn't luck, it was possible? Then, progressing through their involvement and defining success. And that's where we are in the journey at this moment. And that's the program we're establishing for this year and rolling out. At each stage, it's probably moving more and more to a local solution. So the next stages are for the platforms to start to own what we call incident-free. The commitment. We never actually had any elements or items for a safety commitment in the company. We had some values. We had 5 strong values, but we didn't have any clear safety commitment. So these were the 5 elements we came up with. They were to provide basic guidance to all our staff and contractors. They were not a recipe that was guaranteed if you did all this, you would become incident-free. They were not an explicit set of instructions. They were guidance about how we wanted to go about our business, how we wanted to establish it. They also show that we can build on our belief we can operate without injuries and accidents. And it was something where we could all take personal ownership of them, reflect on them, and use them to challenge one another when maybe we would be seen to be maybe questioning them. So there was a series of sessions that we ran. I was involved with ones with the executive team, and then we came back into the Danish business and ran separate sessions for my direct reports and for other managers and leaders in the organization. The question was, what about these other thousands of people we have out there? And I didn't touch on it at the time, but we have now had 2,300 people since the start, more or less the start of 2011, through the incident-free program. That is a tremendous achievement. We ran orientation sessions. Our original commitment sessions were about 2 days. This was more about 6 or 7 hours. And these were the objectives that we had from the orientation sessions. We didn't actually have a clear description of incident-free. It wasn't written down. It was actually left for people to come up with and work with themselves on what did it mean to them. We wanted to go from a command control, do as you're told culture. And this we wanted to use to establish a platform for change. So everybody in the company had got an exposure to it. We hope that there are probably 1 or 2 who are missed, but in the majority of people have been on this, and we use it as a platform. It provides a common language for discussing safety. And the events that are in the orientation program that was put together allow us to go out there and communicate back to that session and find and engage people. It was trying to make it personal, relevant, promote care and concern. How can we look after one another better? Taking away the boss knows best, or I was told to do it. If it doesn't look right and you have concerns, then speak up. But also, if you see things, can you intervene? Not an easy skill, particularly offshore. At some points, 25 years of an organization and a structure. That is what we are trying to move to one that can take this on. And finally, an important part was trying to reach the point where you decided to follow the rules rather than just do it because that's what you were told. We had support in this program all the way from the corporate level by a group called J&J. You find their information on the websites, J&J Associates. But as it came down to the local and to the business level, there was a very strong need for us to own it, us to run it. We needed the training, we needed the support, and we needed some guidance. But it became very important it was our program. We actually found within our business 50 people who, after the commitment sessions and the leaders sessions, volunteered to fit in to their normal work, actually leading these sessions. They went through dedicated training, 3 or 4 days worth, and actually were coached. And I think in a lot, many of them actually qualified as trainers. But that was very important. This wasn't me standing at the front saying, you've got to be safe. This was people through our organization, working in drilling, working in the production plant, some of the OIMs, some of the production techs, who said, I believe that I can make a difference, and I want to be involved in the program. It was, on every session, supported by the business leadership. That caused some juggling of agendas at times, but I think every session, and I'm not quite sure, but there were hundreds, had myself or one of my direct reports actually there. And that was noted by the people who took place. On some of the feedback, it was, well, these guys, we know they're busy, but they actually turned up. We avoided the debate around statistics. We didn't want to get into the statistical thing and start to make it clinical. But it was left to the individuals to define their incident-free beliefs. And I guess the impact was delivered program, or a program that's put together in a DVD called Remembering Charlie. Lasts about 50 minutes. And usually after it's been given, it's very quiet. And one of the comments there was, well, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've not hurt myself. That DVD goes straight to the heart of that comment. People can see it. I won't tell you any more about it, but it's actually a key hook. We can go back to people offshore. If people have an accident, an incident, we can say, well, how do you relate this to Charlie? What happened to him? And it really does provide us a common language to discuss things and try and learn a little bit more about what is happening. Then there's getting involvement. And this was part of a campaign. This is just one of, I think it's number 6 in the program. And this was very much getting people in the program to recognize what was happening around them. We got them to nominate colleagues who'd done things consistent with incident-free. It wasn't always about writing the best safety program. There was somebody who actually did welfare. He actually followed up with a colleague who was a little bit distracted and got issues, but actually saw him through it. We had somebody who developed some new hardware for changing out a gasket. Then we had a medic. He didn't have to do it, but he took a lot of people through how to use the defibrillator, how to care for people. And that was one of the key things, trying to get people to care for one another and to help one another and be able to be involved. You're nominated by a colleague. Most of the people who are nominated, I guess, don't know. And then decision, and we select people on a monthly basis. And then we recognize not only the person who's actually come up with the idea or taken an initiative forward, but also the people who have made the nomination. We're trying to make it relevant. We're trying to show a little bit stronger that there is a human side there, and we want to be involved in making sure people do get safe and recognize them for that. And the recognition doesn't have to be big. That's certainly one thing we've found. So what is success? Where are we? Where will I be feeling that this program is starting to deliver? When we start to get positive interventions to potential risks for colleagues. And actually, one of the things we have seen already is as we ran this program, our number of near-miss reports, observations, mainly at an observation or a low-risk level, actually doubled. So people became more aware of what was happening around them. That we recognize we are vulnerable and we account for it. Our operations, we have to manage risk. We're always managing risk. We're always managing the potential for events to happen. Sometimes we do that very well, and some people have been on platforms for a long time and they've seen nothing, but it's all around them. So they have to recognize that they are still potentially vulnerable. That we ensure safety is considered in everything we do. So it starts with safety. We don't have necessarily a safety session because safety is in everything that we are doing. And finally, I guess a little bit of almost a slogan, but we start each day incident-free. And when we walk out onto the job, through the doors, from the accommodation, what do we actually do to make sure that we come back incident-free at the end? And that helps us start to deliver, I put, part of incident-free. As was recognized in the movie, there are another component there. I touched on it at the start, and that's process safety. And that is integral to incident-free Maersk Oil. These are the events that will have a profound impact on multiple people, on businesses. They are changing events. Each of those, Piper Alpha, Texas Oil Refinery, and Macondo, have changed the way that the world looks at our business, the way the regulators look at our business, and the way we ourselves actually are brought face-to-face with our business. We use a little bit a risk-based process safety system. It's Center for the Chemical and Process Safety. It's a thick red book, but it has about 20 elements to it. And we built it up like this, building on the foundations that we've set in the company. So the culture, which we want to establish in leading safety, take that forward, deliver it into process safety. Our vision, both as a company and our safety vision and commitment, our HSE policies, and our technical standards. They're the foundations. We've got the pillars, each supporting various parts. So the commitment to process safety. The understanding of hazards and risks, they are there. Do we understand them? And do we understand particularly how they change? What are we doing to manage the risks? And what are we doing to learn from our experience? And that is one of the key things, I think, to take away, is that there's lots of learnings that we take and we retain, and then 5 years later we seem to replace them, and they drift away. And then another incident happens, and somebody says, yeah, I remember that from 10 years ago. We picked 4 of the key ones there that we're particularly focused on building into our organization, and that's starting in 2012. So hazard identification and risk assessment, management of contractors, contractor management, management of change, and incident investigations. So all those going with the process integrity review, kicking off in a few weeks' time, and feeding through into our culture, supporting what we're doing on the leading safety and personal safety to deliver safe design, good operations, and maintenance of our equipment offshore. So combined, we're hoping to deliver a new culture. It allows questioning, it allows intervening, and it supports caring of our colleagues. It recognizes we are vulnerable, but we're better and safer together. We understand the learnings focusing on LTIs does not alone deliver an incident-free business. We become a knowledge-based organization, we retain the knowledge, and we learn from events. And that leadership commitment is actually visible, supporting this whole program through the period that it runs, and that we believe in it. Finally, the slide before, we're all living in changing times, and this probably sums it up. What was accepted in the past will not always be accepted in the future. Thank you.